Simon, thanks for your time. Of course, we're expecting the announcement of John Cartright as head coach for 2025. Your reaction to that, please?
Positive, experienced coach. I think there's obviously a lot of talk around us as a club at the moment, and I think just getting clarity on that one thing will go a long way, and hopefully more clarity comes off back of that and a lot of other issues. But yeah, I think I've not had the opportunity to speak to John yet. I'm sure I will in the coming days and weeks. But yeah, a wealth of experience behind him. And that was the thought, I think, from the off, was just to get an experienced coach, and they've landed that.
What's Richie said about the vision that he's hoping John will bring to the club?
I think just his experience. I'll let Richard speak for Richard, but yeah, just generally his experience and leadership is something that, a club with a young squad, a changing squad, is what they're after. So yeah, they think they've got the man.
As you mentioned earlier, how impressed are you with the track record that he's got, particularly in the last 10 years as an assistant in the NRL?
Well, it's been further than that, hasn't it? He's coached at a lot of clubs. He's obviously sampled a lot of different ways of doing things, and he'll have picked up loads along that journey there. And currently at Brisbane, who are one of the strongest teams in that comp at the moment. So all his experiences and his connections around the game over there will be beneficial for us.
As you mentioned, been a head coach as well, but not for 10 years up until this appointment. What would you say to some fans who maybe have a concern about that?
I don't know. Coaching's coaching. I think you pick up a lot, I think, regardless of the role, just from being in and around it. But he's obviously got the experience from doing it, and then he's assisted other people to help them do their job. So I don't think that'd be a problem. His experience, whichever way you pick it up. And yeah, he'll be really good for us, I'm sure.
Reports suggesting that you've been offered an assistant role for next season alongside him. Is that true? What's the latest on that?
Well, I signed for 2 years, so there's obviously a contract there. As far as I'm aware, last week I said something different. I'll be here. Look, we'll see how everything plays out. Obviously, some coaches come in, they want to make changes with the staff and whatnot. So that's conversations to be had. I think they've got the coach over the line. I think there's obviously a lot of chat to go from now, but yeah, I don't expect to be going anywhere soon.
How much are you looking forward to the opportunity to potentially working with him then, and particularly with his, helping him with Super League, given he's not been around here for a while since his brief spell at Salford?
Yeah, well, I obviously came to Hull to work with an experienced coach, and I didn't pan out. Not everything goes to plan, does it? But yeah, the opportunity to work with an experienced coach was what I came for in the first place, to ready me for hopefully one day doing the job here or somewhere else. And just learn and watch someone at close quarters and have that day-to-day critique, and just in an effort to get better, really. So I'll definitely tap into that in the off season there, and picked up plenty from Tony in a short period of time. We'll pick up plenty from the new fella as well.
On a personal note, how are you feeling about not getting a permanent crack at it, I suppose?
Listen, obviously, I've got that desire to be head coach, and we have had those conversations. But I think I want to do it for a long time. I think from the outset, the intention has been to get an experienced coach. So the club's got what they wanted and needed and felt they needed. So I'm not too fussed about it. Coaching's coaching. The hands-on bit, I'm still really want to do that bit. I think when you get a little bit older, more senior, it ends up becoming more of the management and leadership side of things and running everything. I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the minute. I mean, nothing's changed too much for me, to be honest with you, other than you picking the team, you're having a bit more of a say in that, obviously, a stronger say in that, and the day-to-day, but nothing's changed too much. But I'm not disappointed. I'd hope to be a head coach at some point in the future, but John's 58. He's a head coach now at 58. Hopefully it doesn't take me that long to get an opportunity, but I'm hoping to be in the game a long time, and we know how this game works, unfortunately. When things don't go well, it's the coach that moves on, and sometimes that can be catastrophic for careers. We've seen some over the years who get in early, possibly, you could argue too young, and then you don't see him in the game again. So I'm not too bothered about it. I've just got to get on with my job as I have been doing.
How much could his focus on defence and discipline help the group that's being assembled for next year as well?
If that is his focus, I think it's, well, look, our discipline hasn't been good at times. Obviously, the start of the year it was all over the shop and with the rule changes and whatnot as well. But the discipline, defence, they're cornerstones of rugby league, aren't they? And if you're a very good defensive team, I'd argue you don't have to be great with the ball. You can earn a lot through your defence, and I do think that's something we can definitely improve on. We've shown some signs of improvement in recent weeks with the people that we have got here, but obviously there's going to be a raft of change between now and the end of the season and when we get around to playing games in 2025 under John. So I think there's the opportunity to change at this club's massive, and that's the intention with Richie coming in and so on. So yeah, there's a lot of change coming. It's been quite a bit already, to be fair. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, but yeah, we're just getting on with it. We'll worry about the day-to-day for now, and the future will take care of itself.
You mentioned that change that's happened and is still to come. How much could this appointment help members of the group who now perhaps know that they'll have to raise their game to go on this journey with John next year?
Well, I think it's been made pretty clear to them, aside from John's appointment. We know where we are, and we're probably feels like the lowest ebb bit at the moment. Obviously losing against London last week in a game that arguably we should have won. We're going to come out of it. We are going to come out of it, but it's the how steep the curve is, I suppose. And it's how hard we work and how much people are going to get on board with what we're asking them to do. And I think we are going to make some choices around performance and what people bring over the coming months. But everyone's got an opportunity, haven't they, to impress the coach. I'm sure John's been watching games, and I'm sure he will be watching more with a closer and more critical eye now. So everyone's got an opportunity, and have to put the best foot forward if they want to beat LFC. You
mentioned that defeat at London over a fortnight ago. How's it been for you since then?
Fine, really. Annoyed, gutted, all those things post game. We did okay within the game. We spoke about the game before. I don't know if I said it in the press, but certainly to the boys at London, are not a team that will beat themselves. You have to take the ball away from them, do all your bits right, and you will get some opportunities. And they didn't disappoint in their efforts in the game, and we just came up with a bit of impatience, and that was followed by some try line defence that was pretty average. I think we've got a couple against the grain tries. There's the kick one where there's a bit of a miscommunication, which put us on the back foot. But then a little bit of pressure, didn't handle it well. As I said, I think we played 3 games before that where we weren't supposed to win. Mm-hmm. And it's a bit like when you're chasing a game and you're 10 points behind and there's 4 minutes left. All of a sudden teams find loads of energy, don't they, and they're chasing a game. We needed to be desperate from the off as opposed to trying to find something later. So you win or you learn, they say. So we're learning plenty. We just need to make those changes off the learnings we're going through, and we will get better.
How have you handled the few days with the squad since Jake Truman told us about a review session and talking things through? Have any home truths been delivered to this squad as a result of that defeat?
Yeah, definitely. Everyone's paid to do a job, and you have to deliver your job, or questions should be asked, and certainly things pointed out sometimes when people are on the job. So yeah, lads didn't deliver last week, individually, collectively. So yeah, review is a place where we're going to be open and honest if we want to get better, and there has to be a couple of not harsh words but harsh truths, I suppose. What lads do with them, that's up to them how they take them, I suppose. But as a staff, we're united. I think the players are as well. I'm not saying they're not, but we want to make it better, so we want to be part of the solution, not the problem. So we have to have these conversations to try and move forward. And any criticisms within that room the other day were all received pretty well, and there's nowhere to hide. It's all on screen behind you. So yeah, look, they moved on from it, as you do. You can't kick yourselves and kick stones for too long. You suffer the agony of the review, and then we kick on. We get on with the next bit.
It's triggered a lot of talk about Super League, the structure with the IMG grading system, and some feeling it's unfair that London could potentially go down without finishing bottom. How much has that hurt you and the group, seeing comments from people on the outside saying that the club is coasting, knowing it's safe from relegation?
I think people on the outside don't understand the context of what's going on within, to be honest. And one very vocal member gives us a bit of grief at the moment. Obviously, a couple of things have gone on there that could have been better. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me those comments are delivered. We don't make the rules, whichever way it looks at come end of the season. We don't make the rules, so we just have to get on with doing what we're doing.
How do you feel about the grading system?
Well, what we've been doing for a long time hasn't worked, has it? So something has to change. I'd probably argue in some respects it's probably not too much of a change. I think there could be more changes to make it better. I think what they're doing is they want to make rugby league an elite sport again, by having elite facilities, by having elite standards around how they all do business as well. So I think it'll raise the bar for clubs as a whole and businesses, which can only be of benefit when the money in the game has dropped. Hopefully we can get our product to a position again where people want to pay us more to have the broadcasting rights. Then that coupled with the businesses being better, the whole game just jumps forward, I think. But I don't really think we'll see the benefits of this grading system just yet. I think you're probably starting to see it because teams are trying to get on board of it to earn the points. So they're putting, I don't know, LED scoreboards, for example. We're starting to get these things on and bringing our sport up to standard, I suppose, if we want to be classed as an elite sport. So there's a lot of benefits for it. You will never make everyone happy in sport. That's just how it is anyway. But I think if we're going to drive up the standards of every club, I think it can only be a good thing, really.
We've talked about the motivation of a new head coach coming in. A lot's talked about this Hull FC side in comparisons to previous ones who haven't fared very well. How much are you using that as motivation in terms of avoiding setting unwanted club records in that regard?
I'm not using that as a talking point at all. It's just to be better, do better, work harder. This is a great job in terms of, well, it's not a job. I don't know if I've said this to you already, but I've certainly said it to boys. It's a lifestyle. It really gives you the opportunity you're paid to go to gym. I've got mates finishing work after a long day of lifting and all sorts, and then they go to gym. It's a privilege. Obviously, you've got a certain ability to be in the room. That's why you're here, but just not losing sight of that's important, and really utilising your time when you're not here as well, because we can only train so much. There's a lot of hours left in the day and a lot of responsibility on the individuals to go and make themselves better and do the right things off the pitch, and that will end up transferring on it. I'm probably ranting a little bit there, but look, we as a group, we just have to be better. I'm not looking any further than the next game, and I won't do that until the end of the season. We just have to be better. That goes for us as a staff as well, making sure we're doing our job properly. And again, do better, learn fast, and learn from these things, because they are learning. It's good. All these times pass. The good times come and go pretty quick. This feels like a long slog at the moment after the last 8 weeks or so, but we just all have to dig in and show that toughness we've been calling for all year.
Looking ahead to the game at Cass, how are you looking injury-wise?
I think we're okay, to be honest. Usual bumps from the game at London. Then we had a few boys play in the reserves on Saturday just gone. Got some minutes in them, so we're in a pretty good spot. I think we have a few back. Obviously, Joe Cater's struggling. I thought it was quite visible towards the end of his stint against London. He's been struggling with a back issue. We're getting to the bottom of what's going on there, but I think pretty healthy other than Joe, I think. And obviously the long-term boys who have got them long-term injuries.
Yes, Joe Cater, as you mentioned now, sort of longer term, perhaps. Well, let's mention the reserves: Jack Ashworth and Harvey Barron playing. How are they looking after being in action at the weekend? Good.
They've obviously done it. Jack got a freakish injury in training, resulting in surgery, and he's been working hard in the background. I thought he looked like a first-team player playing reserves the other day, which is what you'd hope for. But I could say that for all those young men that played there as well. I thought they all had pretty good games, and getting Harvey back in there was good for his confidence as well. Thought pre-season he started well, and then he got a hamstring injury, and there's been a couple of niggles after that, and then obviously the fracture on his forehead there in a bit of a random, I think it was friendly fire actually. Him and Lennon Bursell banging heads 7-8 weeks ago now. He's ticked the boxes, he's worked hard in background. He's another kid who's busting for an opportunity. I think he's got some real good qualities, and I want to hang a bit of hope on as well, I think.
One other who wasn't part of the squad, Ben Reynolds, for the trip to London Broncos. What was the issue there, and how's he looking for the weekend?
Well, Benny came in on Thursday, I think. Thursday maybe. We're playing on Saturday or whatever, Sunday. It just meant his week at KR hadn't lined up with how we wanted it to look. So he'd had quite a tough week, and not being in the side there, obviously doing that extra training and such, didn't really set him up well. And then he only got the opportunity to train with us once properly, so it was too late for that game.
And then elsewhere, other than that, long-term injuries, any chance of anyone returning? I know there was a thought about perhaps Brad Fash coming back for this one.
We'll give Fash as long as he needs this week. He's trained well the last couple of days, but we'll have to see how he pulls up. From the increased load of what rugby feels like as opposed to doing your straight line stuff. So we'll see how he is. Other than that, I don't think there's anyone else jumping back in the mix this week.
Outside of injuries, Tiaki Chan, he was on a 2-week loan. What's the update?
Yeah, I think the loans are the 2 weeks and then they roll on.
Yeah.
So we'll roll on this week. He's still with us as it stands. Obviously, that can change pretty quick. I was quite impressed with him last week. I had some good energy about him, a couple of little tweaks to help his game and help us. But that's the same for everyone. But yeah, his energy's been good.
Cass then, on the face of it, looking at the table, another game that you'll be targeting a win given their start to the season. How do you assess how they've gone so far?
I think they've been what they said they were going to be. I think in the off season, I think they've anchored expectation at Cass around what they're spending, who they're signing, where they're putting the money around in line with that AMG stuff. And I think they've been a team of triads, but they have got some quality in there as well, some skill in Westerman, Miller. I think Sam Wood's showing some great form in the centres for him as well. There's lots of bits and bobs in there. They're a good side, and they play very well at home as well. So we've got a tough fixture in front of us. What
do you want to see from the team in terms of performances? You were seeing that gradual incline in terms of displays and then drops off at London. So what do you need to get back to?
I'll always be trying to base it on effort, getting our effort where it needs to be and our concentration around how we finish sets, where we finish them. And it sounds as basic as, but we can't be turning that ball over as cheaply as we did on plays 1 and 2 against London if we want to have a chance. But yeah, we're not playing well, we're not where we want to be, but there's still some very good players in that team. We need to get them playing at the level we know we're capable of, and if the individuals do that, the collective are doing it on the same page, we can certainly get better than we have been. But again, it's one game at a time at the moment.
And potentially coming up against Tex Hoy as well, how hungry will he be to have a point to prove against?
I'm sure he will be. It's only human. I think it's just sport. Generally, everyone wants to go back to the team they've left and go well. And Tex, I read an interview actually when he left about his time at Hull, and he was the first to admit, which was pretty big of him as well, to be fair, because there's always a bit of cloak and dagger around when people move. There's lots of stories and tales around stuff, but he didn't give us the best version of him often enough, and hopefully it don't go well this week, but often a change is as good as a rest, and he's freshened himself up, and I hope we can see the Tex, the Tex that we know is in there for Castleford. As I say, I hope he don't come back and haunt us this week, but he's a very good player. He's shown some good touches in his time there so far, but hopefully we can keep him quiet this week.
Having worked with him briefly, you mentioned he said he didn't give the best version of himself. The nature of his departure as well, why do you think that manifested itself?
In what sense?
Why do you think he wasn't able to give his best version here at Hull?
I'm not sure. I don't live in Hull. I travel in, and from what I can gather, and I really hope I don't offend anyone, but it's a city that's obsessed with rugby league, whether you're black and white, red and white, and there's a certain pressure, and when things aren't going well, I'd imagine, particularly, I've mentioned it before with other players, but these NRL superstars that come over, they cop a bit. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, don't make it right, all those things in amongst it. But I don't know, I think sometimes when you're not going well, it can probably be a hard place to live. I think that's probably fair to say. And Tex weren't playing at the right level for long enough, and the team wasn't, so he probably didn't have the best experience at Hull. But, you probably have to get a bit deeper than that and speak to Tex, I think. But listen, he's gone, wish him well. Not too worried about Tex, he'll be doing his thing. We just need to make sure we're on our game on Friday.
Simon, thanks for your time.
No worries.
Simon, jump back into reserves game. Logan White played the full game at full back. He drew some praise from Freddie Cummins after the game. What did you think to him? Because coming back when you've been on such a high, making your Super League debut, then stepping back, I think it shows a lot of character, but attitude as well.
Yeah, Moy's a good kid, very good kid, good player, tough as they come. He's someone who is definitely wanting to get better, and he's on board with that. Working harder, learning fast, and he's going to get stuff wrong as a young player, but he's trying really hard. But that game, London didn't give the toughest test for our reserves, but I think all of them looked like they were first team squad players, if you like. They all looked like they had a bit of something about them for every one of them that played. But yeah, Moy's a talented player. He's tough as they come, and he does bring a certain level of energy, which is nice to have around.
What impressed you the most then, the 54 scored or the 0 conceded?
It was nice to see us scoring some tries. We're not getting enough just lately at first grade level, but yeah, the 0's good for us, isn't it? I think it's very easy in those games when you are in front to possibly have a minute off or not care about your try line too much because you're that many in front. So obviously they've shown a good attitude there, but Franny's been doing a great job with them, and the academy boys too, and I think there's some green shoots in amongst all that.
You mentioned Harvey there, obviously in a strong comeback. What does he need to do to get into the first team? Obviously Lewis has been going real well on the left flank, and you've got Tom Briscoe on the right, so is it fair to say it's going to be tough for him to get back in?
No, he's in the mix this week. We'll make a choice around what we're going to do there, but I think at the moment with Brisk, Lou and Harvey, we've got 3 wings at the club, and obviously it doesn't go into 2, but it's fair to say Brisk is going to be playing as the experienced senior member of that gang. Now, Harvey and Lewis have got some clear directive of what they need to be good at to play in this team, and they're both working hard on it, and there's a bit of a battle there going between them. But I think Harvey had a disruptive pre-season, did well. After last year, he played a couple of games last year, didn't he, I think? You'd argue he was probably in front. The injury slowed that down, and Lou started and done some really good stuff for us. But I think it's just important to remember between Lou, Moy, Charles, you can keep going. All these young lads have had quite a bit of exposure in a pretty tough time, and it's I know we're talking about Harvey, but Charles has probably played more games in one little group together than we thought he'd play all season, and sometimes you've got to protect these young lads from that. They're going to make mistakes, and we can accept that as long as they're trying hard to correct them. And Lou's no different. He's been doing some really good stuff, but there's some stuff in his game where he's a baby in rugby league. He's got another 100 games in front of him before we call him a fully fledged senior player and a Super League player, I think. He's got a lot to improve on, but a lot of positive things in front of him, which is exactly the same for Harvey. And his performance the other day has given us quite a bit to think about this week. And as I said, we're going to be looking at people, aren't we? We're going to look at what we've got available to us between now and the end, picking the best team for that week, but having a look at who's going to be on this journey with us in the future, and we obviously need to plan for them. Ben
Reynolds going into this side this week potentially. What have you seen from him in training so far that he can ignite and bring to the FC?
He's a competitor. He's playing every play. He speaks well. Communication's probably a big thing that stood out with him, and having Fash back out on the field as well. That's 2 vocal bodies that we've probably been missing. But yeah, listen, he jumps on plays, he's taking chances, he's creating opportunities, and he's almost, I suppose, talking for. You do that when you're on an edge. I've played a bit of both. When you're closer to the middle, you haven't got time to talk. Sometimes you're just struggling to breathe, and he's doing the talking for the people and bringing them along. So he's been impressive in that regard, and we've only had a handful of sessions together, but so far things have looked pretty good with him.
You just mentioned there about managing young players. Is that going to be the case with Jack now? He's got someone at the club now. That means he doesn't have to be thrown in the deep end for the rest of the season. He can sort of pick and choose his games. If you like.
Yeah, look, Charles, he's done a lot of good things, but he's a young man. Physically, he's not at the level yet where we feel comfortably should play every week, and again, he's played due to circumstances. But that's not taken away from the quality as well, because he has been a bright spark for us, hasn't he, at times. But yeah, Ben gives us that opportunity to rest Charlesy. Again, that's another decision that'll come Thursday, but it'd be nice for Charlesy to go and play with his mates again at some point and get a smile on his face and enjoy competing with people he's physically ready for. And we can just keep adding to Charlesy, and hopefully as the season goes on, he gets plenty more games. But we haven't been in a position where we could pick and choose with Charlesy. We're having, obviously, bringing Benny in, getting people fit again. True. We have that opportunity now to do that and do what's right for him, because he's got a long career in front of him, and hopefully a long, solid career at OFC. So we've got to be careful with how we manage him as well.
Just mentioned True there. Obviously, there's been a few jokes that he's not the Messiah. How much does Ben Reynolds and playing with him and creating a relationship with him, how much will that help True now moving forward? Third game back this week.
Yeah, it'll help him. I've said to you, he's not going to come back and be the finished article, and I think he's shown that. He showed some pretty good touches at times, and he's shown that bit of rust, as expected. But having another person who's played a good number of games will certainly help True and probably take a bit of pressure off in terms of leading the team as well. So yeah, I think it can only benefit us having that extra body.
Cheers, Sam.
No worries.
Hi Sam, it's great to hear you speaking earlier about your own future ambition and desires, but for the rest of this season, the team's under your guidance, so what sort of stamp do you want to leave at the end of this season?
Well, I'd like to think the first few games probably showed a bit of what I'd like them to be about, having that gritty mentality to keep turning up and getting our effort right. The talentless stuff is what I've called it. I think that has to be our focus for the rest of the year. Obviously, some dialogue will open with John around what he wants it to look like next year, and if we can implement any of that in the short term in readiness for easing into that, any sort of different styles or thoughts and schemes of play, whatever it might be, we'll obviously look at doing that. But listen, we're just there to try and pick them up every week at the moment, and it's tough at times. They're only human. And whether you've got a choice, haven't you, whether to listen to the media, the social stuff, read it and all that. But these are young people, they've got their phones in their hands 90% of the time, so they are seeing it. So it's tough trying to pick them up at times, but we'll keep doing it, we'll keep turning up. We just want a good, honest team, though. I think that's what we want between now and the end of the year, and I do think there's definitely improvement in us from where we are right now. So hopefully we can get up again, get on that upward trajectory and head in the right direction.